But I'm still convinced that a big part of that, and this is why when people talk about rigged elections, there is nothing that compares to the 2016 Democratic primary. Bernie Sanders in 2016 was everything that a U.S. president should be. He appealed to every corner of the working class, and they could not have that. There was a clip when Bernie was really being Bernie, when a Palestinian woman with a hijab on her head came up on stage at an event in Virginia and specifically said how much it hurts, how much people hate me. And he wrapped his arm around her and he talked about how I'm Jewish and I stand with the Palestinian people. It's like, you wouldn't hear Bernie say that now. No. It's like the whole evolution of the way that things have changed, comparatively speaking to where they are now, this fear of Donald Trump. The reason we're here, Bernie, is because you didn't have the balls to stand up to Hillary the way that you needed to. You needed to walk at the convention. You needed to say, I'm going on the Green Party ticket and we are going to win this thing no matter what. But instead, at the 11 o'clock hour, who gives a rat's rear end if he was threatened? He did, obviously. What he had. And instead of doing that, instead of saying, we're going to support Hillary Clinton, even after what just happened over the past year, we're going to support Hillary Clinton. Well, guess what happened, Bernie? Millions upon millions of those working class voters told you to stick it. We're actually going to go with Trump. And they've been with Trump ever since.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it is true. I mean,
and Bernie Sanders did the Democrats a favor. He told them his campaign, his unexpected success, told them that they had a problem with Hillary Clinton. And instead, I mean, what incompetence. It's just grotesque to me. If they didn't know anything else, they should have said, we have to have a kick-ass get out the vote effort. And she would have won. That's really all they needed to do, was just like a slightly better get out the vote effort to win in the Electoral College. But we have, Bernie just wasn't made of the right stuff. He wasn't tough enough. He was still a company guy. And he thought, being a liberal reformer, that they would accept that. And they said, nope. And then they rigged it again in 2020 and pushed Joe Biden on us.
I know. And I feel like with Bernie, I'm watching him, and it seems to me like he's falling more and more in line as he gets older. And it's strange to me because as I get older, I'm going further and further to the left in a way that, like, I'm off there. I'm off there with I'm off there, and I don't understand how he's getting further. I guess it's just weird. Like And
the other thing,
he's been bought off. He's been bought off by the Democrats, and as they move further to the right, then obviously he does too.
I don't know. I won't agree. Listen, we agree on a lot. I'm not going to go there. I just think he is a very tepid, forgiving person, which is ultimately a failure in the political arena, which is why in a state like Vermont, which is hippie heaven, you can get away with something like that. You can't get away with that on the national stage. And I will tell you, because I don't think I've mentioned this before, I actually got into the delegate room at the convention in Philadelphia. And I can tell you that when he said we have to support Hillary Clinton, they booed him soundly. There was no, I guess this is what we have to do. It's no, across the board. That's where I got my picture taken with David Glover.
He lost so much credibility after that, and lost the movement. And the movement, like the movement in South Florida that was the Bernie people, they all sort of like meandered into the desert, like wandering nomads.
And it really goes to show you that just by his name ID alone, because the campaign in 20 was nothing like the campaign in 16. No. It didn't have that same feeling. It just didn't. And even still, if he played his cards right, he could have been the nominee if he was willing to grab the party by the throat, and he wasn't willing to do it. Well, I guess if you don't want Trump to win again, you have to go with me. And of course, he didn't do anything to try to build a coalition. He could have easily, and again, people can say what they want, but if you're trying to win, you bring in Tulsi Gabbard, you bring in Andrew Yang, you even bring in somebody like Marianne Williamson. Mm-hmm. Those people that were running that could have easily made sure that you beat Biden and the DNC to the punch. If you had gotten out there and done that first before they're like, we're going to get Buttigieg and Klobuchar and dumbass, with all due respect, I know he's a nice guy, but
who?
Beto O'Rourke down in Texas.
Beto, I'm coming for your guns in Texas, and
they
actually
all
think
get on the
work.
stage and they do that. Bernie, you gotta hit him first. You can't hit him afterwards. It wouldn't have made any sense.
Remember that Margaret Beto saying them in Texas that he's going to take their guns, and then somehow thinking that he could win a statewide race.
I remember him standing on tables all the time and throwing his arms around. I never understood anything like that. But yeah, and I'll never forget Bernie saying, "I like Joe Biden. I think he can win." I was like, "Are you running against him or not?"
You gave it away.
It was done.
It was done.
Yeah, no, he caved in a lot of ways. The fact that he's not where he should be on Gaza and what's going on has been bothering me for now 4 months. And it's embarrassing. Honestly, it's embarrassing. Well, the truth is they're all at some point, there will be a reckoning. Now, what that looks like to everybody individually in their own personal lives or professionally, or what that is for everybody, I don't know. But the people that are on the wrong side of this, there will be a reckoning.
You said for the longest time.
We're all going to pay for it. There's going to be a wider war, because the same people who thought it was a good idea to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline are directing this foreign policy, and they do not understand the rest of the world. I just feel like it's like they're driving a car off a cliff, and they don't even know it.
Yeah,
100% agreed, and that's why it's important that we do continue to have these conversations and keep our coalition, however it looks, intact.
What are we supposed to do for President's Day, Margaret? What do you do? Like, first of all,
Teddy,
what are your first of all, the thought of President's Day? Go. What are your thoughts? Like, it's got to be just ridiculous to you, yes?
Yeah. Well,
it's like, you better get to the bank Friday. I mean, I don't know. It's like a silly holiday. Makes people buy my book. You could read Presidential. It's only 200 pages. You could read it in a day. But I think just think about where we are now, where this political system is, the fact that we don't have a democracy. I think people need to actively, consciously stop using the word democracy. I think it's very, very important. Trump can't get rid of a democracy that doesn't exist anymore.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
That's what I would say. It's like they're like, and even when you were saying before about spoilers, you can't spoil something that's already rotten.
No.
I will. But what I will say. You look back on, and again, I told you I thought that Teddy was the best president that we've had, and I had my reasons in terms of why I think his pros outweighed the cons. But the one thing that no one ever talks about, I do believe that the worst president this country's ever had, who has been given a complete whitewash throughout history, is Woodrow Wilson. And one thing that a lot of people do not talk about is the 2012 election, which was maybe the most consequential election of our lifetime, maybe in our history. And I say that because it's what ultimately led to the Federal Reserve. It's what led to World War I. There's a lot of things that came. It's not just the first movie that was ever aired in the White House was Birth of a Nation. Yeah, we can point to that and know how terrible it is. But in terms of policy, it was atrocious. Now, the 1912 election was an election in which Teddy Roosevelt decided to run in the Bull Moose Party. But what a lot of people don't recognize or never talk about is the fact that he actually ran in the GOP primary against President Taft. And he got the delegates, he got the votes. But at the convention, the delegates screwed him and said, we're still going with Taft.
Are you actually sitting here and lecturing Margaret about presidential history?
I'm just making
I did. Although I have to say, I did not know this. So please go ahead.
Okay, well, he might have run the party, but he never rode a moose. He never rode a friggin' moose.
I contest that.
He never rode a moose. That was totally Photoshopped.
But bullshit. The fact is, he went the right way. And if he was the nominee, he would absolutely have won a third term, and that would have completely rewritten history in God knows how many different ways. But the point is, if you guys have not looked up the 1912 GOP primary, it's 2016 all over again. He got the votes. He was able to successfully.
But they said no.
They said no. We're the delegates. Or in that case, you might as well just call yourself super delegates. Yeah, we know the voters, we know the people want Teddy, but we want Taft, and that's the end of it. And that's why he started the Bull Moose Party. It's not because he thought, I'm done with this and that. It's like, no, he tried the conventional way. They said, F you, it's not happening.
Like Kennedy is doing.
So imagine how much different 2016 could have been with Bernie.
I know.
And in the information age, with a social media age, he could have pulled it off on a third party line. I have no doubt whatsoever.
Absolutely. He could have made history. He could have made history in a good way instead of living with this, years-long debacle, from 2016 until now. I just feel like the country has really declined in the last 8 years. And then I'm not saying it's just because Trump was president. How did he get to be president?
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.